President Biden held a virtual summit meeting with the Chinese General Secretary Xi Jinping on Friday and warned Xi the consequences should he choose to support Russia materially.
There was virtually zero result coming out of the summit meeting, so one may ask, why bother? We will bring you the answer.
Mammen, an Indian American, shared how he turned from a communist family member to a conservative, and what is this E-BLM that he founded. Welcome to Wei and Kathy Show. I'm your host, Wei Fang.
I'm Kathy Zhang.
Great to see you again. All right, today we're going to report you some important news out of no news. And
okay.
Yeah, basically. Okay, so in short summary, you already heard what we just said. There's this 2-hour summit meeting this morning, and it seems to generate no result, but it's very, very significant. We'll review to you why we say so. All right, first in the news, okay? And President Biden spent 2 hours today starting at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on talking to the CCP General Secretary Xi Jinping and warned him that China and its relationship with the U.S. would suffer consequences if Beijing provides substantive assistance to Russia in its military assault on Ukraine.
In the beginning of the meeting, Mr. Biden outlined for Mr. Xi the unified allied response against Russia, including the economic sanctions imposed, the global condemnation of the invasion, and the withdrawal of many foreign businesses from the Russian market.
And the U.S. officials tell the press that Mr. Biden tried to suggest the stakes for China. One U.S. official said President Biden made clear the implication and consequences of China providing material support to Russia as it prosecutes its brutal war in Ukraine, not just for China's relationship with the United States, but also for the wider world.
There was no confirmation of anything coming out of the talk. No news about how Xi took it, whether China still plans to support Russia, or what are the specific consequences should China still choose to do so.
On the China side, its official version of the meeting, its own statement, largely sought to present China as a peacemaker and minimize the traces of conflict between the leaders over Ukraine. It says, quote, "The Ukraine crisis is something that we don't want to see, and conflicts and confrontation are not in the interest of anyone." May I insert my comment?
Sure.
Okay, so it's just like let me just use a paradigm for you to see, not a paradigm. What is the 比喻? What is the 比喻? Analogy. Yeah. So just like I ran into Kathy and I said, "Are you going to shopping today?" And Kathy said, "The weather is great." So I asked again, "Are you going to shopping today?" Kathy said, "Yesterday I had a steak." So I asked Kathy again, "Are you going to do shopping today?" Kathy said, "I think I want to play golf."
Okay, this is not a joke. And Kathy never answered that way, okay?
Kathy did. That's a bad thing.
Okay, yeah.
Bad example. Kathy did not have a steak last night. I think she had cake, right? Anyway, so that's the idea. So Biden wanted to ask Xi Jinping that, are you going to support Russia materially? And Xi Jinping just talked about all the other things. And at least out of the press conference or out of the statement on both sides, there's nothing about how Xi Jinping responded to Biden's question. But China, indeed, in their statement, talk enough about other stuff, including Taiwan.
Yeah, in the Xinhua news agency's report on this talk, almost every paragraph started with Xi Jinping said. And only, I read it, it's in front of me right now. Only two paragraphs saying, started with what Biden said, okay? And the one is said Biden just saying, it's about Taiwan. Saying Biden administration is not supporting Taiwan independence, okay? Then the other paragraph, just one sentence saying Biden stated the United States stance and signal that expressed that United States is willing to communicate with China. So that's it about what Biden said in the Xinhua News report.
Yeah, so White House said Biden pretty much spent all the time, almost all the time, on the Ukraine crisis. While in China's, not China, I should not say it's China, I should say CCP, hope you understand me, China's Communist Party, okay, in their statement, only less than 50%. Okay, has to do with the Ukraine. All the other things has to do with Taiwan, how U.S. and China shall lead together and stabilize the world and things like that. So you can tell that how far apart these two parties are. Okay. Also, back to the news. There's no action plan coming out of this meeting either. Okay, except three things. And you think, oh, there are three things, right? Why do you say there's no action plan? Okay, the first action is maintaining open lines of communication. You think that's action. The second is manage the competition between our countries. What does that mean? Okay. The third is that the two leaders tasked their teams to follow up on today's conversation in the critical period ahead. Well, how do you classify that as something actionable?
Okay, so let me just confirm with Wei. So these 3 points is from which statement? It's from the CCP's?
Side.
Okay, from the US side.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, from China's side too. These three specific pieces come from the US side. And so basically, take note here. US officials said Mr. Biden did not make specific requests to Xi.
Why is that?
Yeah, okay, let me went on, okay. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, after the talk, and have a 1 hour, press conference with the press. And this is her word, okay. She said, because China has to make a decision for them. People ask them that, why no specific request? She answered, because China has to make a decision for themselves about where they want to stand and how they want history book to look at them and view their actions. And that's a decision for President Xi and China to make.
Okay, basically it's saying that United States is giving CCP opportunity to decide, even at this point, decide where they want to stand.
Yeah. So then let's just review the situation a little bit background. So Beijing has so far declined to criticize Russia or even to term its actions in Ukraine in an invasion. Expressing sympathy with the security concerns Moscow has cited as among reasons for the military assault. Further, China, precisely speaking, CCP, has criticized the severe economic sanctions brought by the U.S. and its allies against Russia. Okay, so we spent, 10 minutes talking about this summit meeting, and there's no result coming out of it, virtually no action coming out of it. And the U.S. official said Mr. Biden did not making specific requests to Mr. Xi. Why bother? It's just like these two people, they don't talk, they don't get along, and Biden say, Mr. Xi, can you just spend 2 hours? Let's talk for 2 hours. And spend so much trouble having this no result, like a zero result meeting. Kathy, why bother?
That's right.
Biden has nothing else to do.
So,
because before the 2 hour meeting, there's dozens of hours planning on both sides, right? Making sure everything's fine. And then pretty much just Biden just talk about, the U.S. side said Biden spent most of the time telling Xi what U.S. did following the breaking of the war. So just spent so much time and did not ask for anything. No request. So what's the purpose?
Okay, so in summary, it said had a statement putting out there if Chinese government choose to aid Russia, it will have severe consequence.
Yeah. So people keep asking. Asking Psaki during the press conference, which I read, saying what specific penalty or implication? What do you mean? And can you be more specific? And she just say, I have no asset. I cannot comment on that. So that question and answer, I think repeat for almost like 8 or 9 times.
Wow.
Yeah. So what do you think? Biden has nothing else to do, spend 2 hours and just talking to Xi Jinping, and without even asking, can you do this or do that?
So what do you think is the reason?
Yeah, I think the reason is the sanctions coming. That's my reading.
Sanctions against
Of China.
Of China.
Yeah, of the CCP, because this is a courteous way for Biden administration to talk to Xi Jinping, saying that we have given you enough opportunity. You still proceed on, you still aid Russia, and if they did, okay, if they do, right, we're gonna slash sanction on you. So they do not threaten. They have no request. It's just like we let you know what you need to know. Now it's for you to choose, but we're ready to pull the trigger. That's how I read it.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll see whether Wei is right or wrong, and I think U.S. has had enough.
Then would this push Chinese government further to go with Russia, or
No. No. See, today there's no threatening word. There's no specific request. Biden just plainly just lay out everything. U.S. has been doing. There's no push. There's no threat. Just tell them that, and give him a chance to react. Okay. I think Biden set up this meeting in order to provide a, how to say,
so it's like
strong reason for later sanction.
Heads up.
Yeah, basically, we told you. Don't say that we didn't tell you. We told you. That's how I read from this summit. Do you agree? Okay, do you agree? What's your opinion? Yeah. So if you do, say yes. If you don't, say no. If you say 30%, just type 30%. How about that? Let's do an online survey here. All right, let's move on to the next piece of news, and which has to do.
Yeah, Black Lives Matters.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and we have everybody knows Black Lives Matters, BLM, but there's a E-BLM. And what is that?
What does that mean?
Yeah, today I will bring you the story. So first of all, here's a piece of news about related to Black Lives Matters. Black Lives Matters activist in Boston and her husband have been charged with fraud and conspiracy by federal officials because they were alleged to take money meant for a nonprofit they funded. And they used money to pay for hotel rooms, car rentals, dining out, vacations, things like that. So who are the defendants? They are Monica Cannon Grant, 41 years old. That's her. And her husband, Clark Grant, 38 years old. They were charged in an 18-count indictment this week by the U.S. Attorney Office for the District of Massachusetts.
Well, according to the charging documents, the couple used tens of thousands of dollars meant for charitable efforts such as feeding needy children, to pay for a vacation to Columbia, Maryland, and the hotel room, parking fees, buy groceries, meals at a restaurant, pay for Uber rides, car rental, gas, auto insurance, purchases from retailers such as Old Navy, nail salons, and Walmart.
So what is nonprofit they founded? According to the prosecutors, they founded this organization called Violence in Boston. And so the funds donated to this nonprofit. And among those donating funds was Cambridge Black Lives Matter group. So Cannon Grant appeared in court on Tuesday and is scheduled to appear again for arraignment next week.
And she and her husband, Clark Grant, was each charged with a wire fraud conspiracy and wire fraud and making false statement to a mortgage lending business. Cannon Grant, the wife, was also charged with mail fraud, and Clark Grant was also facing 2 federal charges, including wire fraud from 2021. So they were charged. The husband was charged last year.
Yeah, already.
Yeah.
So, this is actually not the first time BLM members charged for
Fraud.
So now let's talk about the story we're gonna bring to you. So, what is E-BLM?
Yeah, I thought it's electronic. I guess not.
Okay, now
That's my first guess. Wrong
right.
guess.
So what would you guess, right? So it's actually called an organization called Every Black Lives Matter.
That sounds like just the same as the BLM, doesn't it?
Okay, so yeah, you stay with us to find out. So this is actually an organization co-founded by an Indian American entrepreneur in Silicon Valley. And I actually known him before because he's also a president of another conservative group in Silicon Valley. So his name is Neil Mammen. So he's a very interesting story. He grew up surrounded by Marxist and communist family members, including his uncles, even, one time his father. And, then how come he become a more conservative-minded person? And also why he found this E-BLM. So a very brief introduction of Neil. She was actually born in Africa to an Indian parents and grew up in different countries, eventually came to the United States. He obviously is a black sheep, as he self-claimed, black sheep of the family. So he has degrees in computer engineering, electronic engineering, and solid state physics, and has co-founded 5 startup companies in Silicon Valley. He has about 16 issued and pending patents. So let's hear his experience and why he founded this E-BLM.
Now, I know a fair amount about Marxism because I grew up, my background, my family, my father's family are all communists and Marxists.
You mean back
in India? In India.
They are.
Right. So my uncle was two of my uncles, actually 3 of my uncles, were very famous Marxists. In fact, one was so famous that the Prime Minister of India was trying to kill him because he was a communist and a Marxist, and he got married to my aunt and then had to run away into the hills because they were after him. So, and then my other uncle was a Marxist who was a Christian and a Marxist, and he wanted to get involved with the Marxist, with the Communist Party. They said, no, you're a Christian, you can't get involved with us. And then he wanted to get involved with the church, and they said, no, you're a communist, you can't be involved with the church. And so he ended up being the chairman or the speaker of the World Council of Churches, which was a very famous Christian organization that brought in socialism and Marxism into it. So, and my father was a communist and an atheist until I was about 5, and then he became a Christian.
That's a transition.
So I have a lot of background in it, and I understand the principles of it. And I actually used to be very socialistic myself.
Really?
Until when I came to America, I went to college, but I'd grown up in this environment, and I didn't realize anything was wrong with it until I started talking to people and debating with them. And I realized that Marxism has never worked anywhere it's ever been tried. In fact, Marxism is no different than a dictatorship, which is no different from a monarchy, like a king. The only difference is instead of calling the king and the duke and all that, they call them the nomenclatura, or the key, the secretary of this or the secretary of that, right? And it's all the same. You have the key people in power, and you have all the peasants on the bottom. And that's what Marxism and socialism lead to.
Is there a moment that made you finally realize, Marxism doesn't work, or it's a gradual?
It's a gradual thing. So I would argue with people, and they would say, what about this, what about that? And then they would say, can you show me one example of a successful socialist? I wasn't a Marxist, but I was a socialist.
Yeah, what about China?
So China, what's interesting about China is the only time China was getting poorer and poorer and poorer until they allowed the free market, right? So at the bottom layers, they have the free market. Now China is booming, but it's now what we call a dictatorship with a free market below it. So they don't have freedom, right? And they control every aspect. If you're not a good Chinese person, don't have your social credits, they can stop you from getting jobs. If you're a Christian or Falun Gong or Uyghur, they're going to make sure that you're either in a concentration camp or that you're broken down in churches. So there's no freedom there, right? So
In their free market, it's just to a certain extent,
Yeah.
right? The Deng Xiaoping opened up a little bit, but
Yeah.
still it's under control
It's,
of the,
yes, so-
the government.
So you can grow to a certain level, but then the minute you're too successful, you got to bring what we call crony capitalism. And fascism, traditionally, what fascism is when the government works with the corporations to control which corporation is going to be the leader, right? And we call it crony capitalism, where the government works with the corporation and says, okay, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. With crony capitalism, the corporations control the government. With fascism, the government controls the corporation. But it's the same thing in fact. They're key people who are running it. So, but coming back to what convinced me is that I realized that the government is not good at anything. The government's only good at two things: killing people, like the army, right, and taxing people. But they're not good at anything else. They're not good at taking care of people. For the last, 50, 70 years, the government has been taking care of the poor, and there are just as many poor people today. The percentage of poor people today is the same as when they started, and we've spent trillions of dollars. We have nothing to show for it.
Did you know why your father came from a communist
Yeah.
to
So he looked at Russia, and he saw that Russia was failing miserably, and he said, "It's Russia of all places," because the Indians were affiliated with the Russians, right? Russian communists. They hated the Chinese communists because of the border. There was a war with China and India, right? So, but they liked the Russian communists, and so most of the Indian communists were affiliated with Russia. And they saw it. He said, "I saw it fail in Russia. It didn't work, and I realized that it wasn't going to work."
Tell us, what is Every Black Lives Matters?
Well, as you know, that there's a group called Black Lives Matters, right? And they've been burning down buildings and fighting, and they're protesting police brutality. So a few years ago, in 2020, we realized a lot of conservatives were going and standing and saying Black Lives Matters, even though they didn't realize that Black Lives Matters is a Marxist organization. Right? So in fact, the founders of BLM say that they are trained Marxists.
We actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists.
Why you decided to?
Yeah, so we started this as a counter to BLM. And one of the things about BLM says they don't believe in traditional family. They're for transgender and all this stuff. They're Marxists, right? So all these things are the real cause of the black problem. Right now, blacks are, African Americans, people who came from Africa and where it is, make less than any other demographic. And people say it's because of racism, but it's not racism. It's actually, if you think about it, if you look at Nigerians and Ghanaians, I grew up in Sudan and Yemen and Ethiopia, but I was born in Ghana, and the Ghanaians and the Nigerians make more money than most white people in America, right? The median income of Nigerians and Ghanaians is higher than the median income of Europeans.
Oh wow!
The highest median income is Indians. The second highest is Taiwanese, and then you keep going, you have Koreans, and then you have Nigerians and Ghanaians. Well, they're black too. So it's not racism that's keeping there, it's something else. So what is that something else? Well, in the 70s, Lyndon Johnson went out and he said, look, I want the black people to vote for the Democrats, because they'd always voted for Republicans because we're the ones who freed the slaves, right? So they said, I want them to vote for Democrat. So I'm going to give them welfare, and they focus on that. And the thing with welfare is, they said if there's only a mother and no father, they get more money. If there's a father in the home, they get less money. So when Lyndon Johnson started his program, only 24% of African Americans were born in a house with no father. Today, 72% are born in a house with a father. So it went from 24 to 72. And now what happens when there's no father in the home? As a result, the young men, they want male companionship, they want male approval. So they join gangs, right? And what do gangs do? Well, they want to make money, so they do drugs, and then they fight with other gangs, so they have violence, drugs and violence. What do the young women who have no father do. They want a father figure, so they get sexually involved at a young age. They're looking for a male figure in their lives. So you put these two things together, and you have drugs, violence, and births out of wedlock. Now, what this does is it creates bad schools. So these kids go to schools and they want to go to these. They come out of school not being able to read or write. Before in the height of racism in the 1930s, the black literacy rate was 70%. That means 70% of all blacks could read or write competently in English. If you go now and look at the inner city, the black literacy rate is 17%. So these kids, why? Because of drugs and violence in the school. The schools are too busy handling drugs, fighting the problems. So they're not learning. So they come out of school, they can't read, they can't write, and then how can they get a job? So now they can't get a job, so their income is low, so now they have to go back on welfare, and this is a vicious cycle that repeats. So what we're saying is we have some principles. One of them is we believe that school choice should be there, educational choice. 68% of all black parents want the choice to take their kid and send them to a private school. So in California, we have this new school choice thing, right? If we pass it, every black kid and white kid would have $14,000 to go to a private school of their choice. And most black parents want this. Right? So that's number one. Secondly, we believe in fatherhood initiatives. We want to stop this welfare. If you have a father in your home, there should be no punishment. You should not get more money, less money if there's a father in your home. You should get more money. So we want to change that. We said, keep whatever money you're making for no father. But if there is a father who's married and in the home, you should get more money. So we want to change that. We want, also, and the last thing that we want to talk about is life. We're pro-life, and the BLM is not. And that is the biggest genocide there is. There are 44 million African Americans in the United States. There would be 64 million if it wasn't for the fact that 20 million African Americans were killed before they could be born, mainly by groups like Planned Parenthood. And Margaret Sanger, who started Planned Parenthood, said, we don't want word to get out that we want to eradicate the Negro population. So she's been focusing on it, and the blacks are 13% of the population, but 79% of the population of the Planned Parenthoods are in black communities. Why is this? Because they're targeting blacks for eradication, and they get money from the government. For every black person they kill, they're going to get money from the government, like $360. So these are the things these are laws we can change, and it's possible to change them. And we think there's a way to do that. So we're really standing for every single black life.
Wow. So how you go about to do this?
So we've been trying to talk to legislators. We've been educating people. I've written a book on it with my daughter.
Your daughter?
It's on our website. Our website is everyblm.com. She was 9 at the time. Now she was 8 at the time. Now she's 9.
Wow, she's writing the book with you?
For children, right? It's a children's book. So you can go to everyblm.com, and it will kind of tell you about the book. It'll tell you what we're trying to do. And we're always looking for people to get us into Congress and people like that. So
why, for you, you care so much about the black community?
Because it's an issue because there is a black plight. As I said, black people are the lowest income makers in America. Why is this? And it's not their fault. It's because of the people that put them there, mainly Democrats. So when I started the group, I actually asked my friend. So my co-founder is black. His name is Kevin McGarry. He's with the Frederick Douglass Foundation. And I called him up. I said, you need to start a group. He talked to the Frederick Douglass Foundation leadership, and they said, no, you and Neil should start the group. And I said, Kevin, I'm not black. He said, no, but you're African American. Because I was born in Africa and I grew up in Africa.
Okay.
And he said, you're more African American than I am. Because he's never been to Africa. So, so it is a concern of mine in that sense.
So in this current situation, the race issue is just kind of so intense, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think is the main thing if you wanted to talk to the other side, those people?
So when we talk to the other side, we ask them questions because we want to bridge a gap. So we say, do you care about black lives? And they say yes. I said, well, do you care about every single black life? They have to say yes. And then we say, do you care that 20 million black babies were killed in the womb? Do you care about those baby black lives? What are they going to say? No, they're going to say yes. And we said, well, we tell them about the school choice thing. I say, 68% of black parents want school choice, but the unions won't let them. Teachers unions won't
Is
let them.
that in California or
Everywhere
nationwide?
in the United States.
Okay.
But the teachers unions won't let them. You care about student black lives, and then we talk about the fatherless issue. We said you care about fatherless black lives, and if they say yes, I said, well, then you agree with us, not with BLM. And it works. Usually they're like, oh, I hadn't thought about that.
Anything else you would like to say for our audience to take away?
Yeah, well, go to our site, everyblm.com, and then you'll find out more about this, because this is an issue. We talk about critical race theory. This is an issue where they're trying to split the people up. We also talk about where there is no race, there's only one race, the human race, right? We're all variations of the same human race. Race is the concept of race was one of the biggest things, and it was pushed mainly by Darwin. Even though it existed in the 1700s, when Darwin came along, he kind of institutionalized it. And it's really a racist policy by a racist person to create the races. And in fact, there's only one race, that's the human race.
All right, so that's Neil Mammen. And actually, we dived into a few more questions about like how he said his uncle in India actually joined the church, which incorporates socialism. And also because Neil is, an entrepreneur in Silicon Valley, so we talked about does he think why the big tech, about the big tech censorship. But, I will share with you about that at another time for the second segment of the interview. So, yeah.
Yep. So let's read some comment. How about that?
Yeah. Sure. So,
I'm still trying to put it out. Sorry about that.
yeah, we have, like maybe new viewer, but maybe just Laura. Laura saying hi from BC, Canada. Yeah, welcome.
British Columbia. All right. Welcome to our show. And I'm still trying to.
Yeah, and from last show, I saw a comment saying that how come, recently I don't get your shows. So
Notification, you mean?
yeah, the notification. So I replied, unfortunately, it's not the first time we hear that. So make sure that you unsubscribe and subscribe again. Click on the bell again. We were told by some of our viewers that probably will, fix the problem. So yeah, please make sure if you wanted to get our videos. And on the other hand, we do shows regularly, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 days a week, live show at 7 p.m. Western Pacific time.
Yeah.
So, what do you
Okay.
see?
Well,
Comments?
let me see.
I thought you were reading them.
Yeah, I was. I was. So,
Oh, is there any Tibetan Lives Matter organization? Yeah, so we are not aware of that.
yeah, Ling said sounds like all familiar in the last 2 years.
Yeah, and she said the
Understand.
truth, Medicare keeps people down.
Yeah.
So I want to mention another organization. He's president of another organization. It's a conservative organization. I don't have the name here yet. I don't have the name here, but they were actually one of the host for Larry Elder when he was running for California governor. So they had him to speak at the large church in San Jose,
Right.
the Calvary Church, which had been, we probably cannot say it here, but they've been fined by the county because of they had been kept the church open, throughout the past 2 years. So we cannot explain more due to, we are also on YouTube, but you probably get
Yeah.
what that means.
And for the new people here, okay, so we do have a Safe Chat channel. there, which is of course uncensored. We got about 15,000 followers there, right? So that's a safe place for you to see our show. And sometimes we just cannot talk about certain things. Have to move the later part of the show over there to the safe chat. But on the safe chat, it's always there.
Right.
The entire show has always been there. And if you go there and take a look and
So maybe Darren can
post the
link
over
of
there.
a safe chat.
Yeah, it has. It's best to install the app. Okay, just search for Safe Chat. Install the app, then you can see the show. Or Darren can also post the web link.
Yeah. Christopher said, unfortunately, the welfare problem is all creed problem. And Tim asked, will CCP invade Taiwan soon? That's a question a lot of people are, have been asking since this Ukraine war started.
Yeah, today is 18th. I think 24 days. 24 days ago. Okay, 24 days ago, the likelihood is very large. But in the last 24 days, basically, there's this war, right, in Ukraine, which really demotivated the CCP from invading Taiwan.
Yeah. So, from your opinion, why?
Well, the reason is simple. Where does CCP got its military technology from? Largely from Soviet Union, and then from Russia, and then from Ukraine. Now, when just one Stinger missile can just take down a fighter jet, and one the Javelin missile can take out a tank. So when that happened again and again on the battlefield of Ukraine, that really shocked the CCP. They were saying, what? Those U.S. company, the small arm they produce can take down the entire, fighter jet and a full tank, things like that, and helicopter, an armed helicopter, which could cost $40 million. Okay, so that kind of unbalanced. Okay, they really shocked them because they always thought Russia military capability or the power can match up with the U.S. At least not too far apart. It's very far apart. Okay, they bought their technology, just do a little bit, add on, and they think they can match U.S. technology. They cannot. This is really the reality that I read from China. Okay, because it's not a free country. When you don't have a free country, when you don't have free people, you don't have free thinking, and it takes free thinking to innovate. That's the Achilles heel of the CCP. No matter how powerful they are powerful through trading with the U.S.
Yeah, and that's
stealing
why.
Technology.
Yeah, that's why they steal, and they are good at the stealing. Yeah. They are good at copying. Copycat, right? So, to one extent, people see like, wow, China's military power, the economic power just rise up so quickly. However, I also agree with the way on this end. It's like because of the censorship, the totalitarian control, it also affects people's mind, affect the innovation capability of people in China. If you think about it, in China, ancient China, we had this four invention.
Grand innovation that really had such an impact on the civilization in the progress, right, in the human world, basically. But you never seen such kind of innovation again after the CCP took power. Yeah.
And that's the reason.
Yeah, it's the least innovative country, even its economy already ranked number 2 in the world. How did that happen? Copy, steal, and just grab, and coerce the U.S. company or the other Western companies to give it up. That's how they made it here.
Yeah, and also I think another fact is because of the CCP controlling, people have no motivation to do that, right?
Yeah.
In the United States, we can see how because of the system, because it encourages people innovation, right? And there's the opportunity for anyone. You can make it. If you have the innovation capability. Yeah. In China, people are suffocated, and that's another reason, I think. Just no motivation for people to become innovative.
Mm-hmm.
So where you said, about will CCP invade Taiwan on the military side?
Yeah.
According to my interviews with some experts, including Miles Yu, the China expert and consultant for the former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, he said, also this one thing, but another factor is because of the Ukrainians people, right? They're
standing firm, not backing down.
Their spirit.
Yeah.
It also inspired the Taiwanese people
to fight for their own future.
Yeah, because Miles Yu accompanied Pompeo to visit Taiwan earlier this month. So I think that's another thing that it will deter CCP's planning on invasion, because they saw the CCP tried to use the Russians' invasion as a blueprint for its attack on Taiwan. But right now, the situation seems it's not on their side.
It's a very bad blueprint. They don't want to go down the same route and work into a mass.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the reasons they kind of, not really showing the true attitude of this war going on in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because unfortunately, God forbid, because of this Ukrainian war, Taiwan becomes safer. Of course, besides the demotivated CCP from using their Russia tech-based technology to attack Taiwan, which is supported by the U.S. Technology, and then they also, besides the motivating Taiwan people to stand firm, hold the ground, and fight to the last breath, and to save their own country. There's also this scale of a sanction, which scares CCP. And if my judgment is right, something could happen if they continue really supporting the Russia with this military or the other type of support. And they always do that. Okay, just imagine. Just imagine. Okay, how come North Korea under such a harsh sanction still stand there? Because CCP always open the back door and just keep feeding North Korea. They're very likely doing the same to Russia, and the U.S. got intelligence about that. So I think Biden pretty much today have spend these 2 hours and talking nice to them, and then give them the last chance. If they still continue the action of funnel, military support or other support into Russia, U.S. probably will pull the trigger and start the sanction. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and I hate CCP. Our friend here said CCP just got $86 billion worth of weapon in Afghanistan to copycat. That's true. So what United States make a correct decision is very important, right? So he also said, did you hear from Gonzalo Lira living in Kharkiv? He said the Russians won. That's their tactic to slowly.
I'm sorry?
Wait.
I don't get that.
You don't get that? He said, he wrote...
I got it.
Okay. What do you think?
Did you hear from Gonzalo Lira living in Kharkiv? He said Russian won. This is their tactic to slowly wait.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, I don't know who is Lira, but let's see. Okay, my judgment is, the Russia is got bogged down there. They already lost, as I counted, 5 generals. They altogether got about 20 generals there. So basically, military experts said if you got a 10% casualty, your battle power, will be compromised. So it's a situation that Russia does not want to find itself in. But that's the situation. In the last 1 week, there's no progress, and so there's a lot of shelling on the civilians because they're mad. They're not happy, and they cannot do anything. So now the report, I think, is credible, and Ukrainian forces start to counterattack as a making ground in the south and also in the north. So we'll see. Basically, I think that has lots to do. Russia, indeed, the military show that they are not that powerful at all. And then their logistic problem, again, just, show up there. And the third thing I think is very, very important, the different morale on both sides. And Ukrainians fighting for their life and death. Russia is wondering, so why are we here? I think that makes a key difference.
CCP also, again, he had another comment saying he thinks the CCP's calculation is that for United States occupied with 3 wars, so that when it attack Taiwan, then the United States cannot help Taiwan. What do you think?
I think if the CCP dare not to attack Taiwan in the near future. So when they don't wage that, then there's no third war. So, I think,
and that's why actually United States right now it's not deciding to really physically get into the war in Ukraine, right?
Right. Yeah. To be honest, I think the U.S. can be more firm and strong than what is now. But anyway, it is the Ukrainian people who are making the difference. That's the key. That's the key. How to say? Change maker.
Yeah. Now it's already late, but it's some people also think United States could have just avoided Russian to start this war, right?
Yeah.
But right now the reality is already what's here right now.
And Mark, you wrote that you make a good point about the difference in Russia technology and the U.S. technology, but it's only in use. It's made obvious only in use. That was probably a surprise to the whole world. Yes. Yeah. When the real thing happened, then you see, what works, what doesn't work. This is the basically the one major outcome of this war that hasn't ended yet. We know that Russia technology, because I interviewed the retired colonel, Army Colonel John Mills. He described to me that in the U.S., every unit, a company, a platoon, every unit needs to support a daily status update. All your weapon, maintenance, everything. He said the Russian army doesn't do that. So they smuggle things, and then they just there's corruption, widespread corruption. It is very loose, and then especially when it comes to logistic. And as we know that this very famous General Omar Bradley, right, in the Second World War, he said that amateurs talk about strategy, and professionals talk about logistics. And by invading a foreign nation, you have to have a very, very strong logistic route, and that's not what Russia has. So because of that weakness, it's very hard for them to turn the tide again, in my opinion, or according to the military expert that we interviewed. So we'll see. The war will be ending sooner or later, without Russia gaining much. And but the side benefit is CCP. Xi Jinping will hold his reign. He will hold his string. Oh boy, what kind of weapon do I have in my hand? That's basically his thought at this moment. What do we got in our, in our weapon repository? Do they work? And but in the meantime, the innovation of free country, free people in the free country of America, and make all the difference.
Yeah, and the motivation to just protect our freedom, I think that's another factor that will give a lot of strength to people. So another, I saw someone was asking, Larry asking us, do we ever travel across the states and do our shows? Would love to see you in Missouri.
Missouri, well, remember that. Hi, Larry. Okay, Missouri someday.
We sometimes do travel. Especially for example, there are big, important events or big events, and both our schedule and the budget can cover that. We will do that. Oftentimes it's me doing the travels, and we'll see. Yeah, if there's opportunity in Missouri, we definitely will go there. Would love to go there. Yeah, both when we lived, we were in Iowa for a couple of years, so it's Midwest. It's always like a hometown for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of Gonzalo Lara, I hate CCP. Yeah, well, I check it out. What's his story, And yeah, all right.
Oh, Louis asking, what you will see is the liberal hypocrisy. We wanted to help Ukraine.
Where?
Towards the later part.
Yeah. What do you see? What do you see? Is the liberal hypocrisy. We want to help Ukraine. Yeah, Louis will wrote that. I understand that part. Okay, I understand that there's different how to say reading of the situation. And yeah, I think today we don't have time to get into that. It's indeed, yeah, that's quite different.
Yeah, there are some concerns, right?
Yeah, point of view or concerns about the matter. And yeah, I didn't plan to talk about that today.
Yeah,
but
we're almost out of time
I
now.
recognize it's it's an issue worth talking about or debating. All right, so
Yeah,
how about
lastly, Mark said Mark said he complimented on the colors.
oh,
Yeah, so thank you, Mark, for noticing that.
okay.
Yes.
Kathy, you make Kathy's day.
Also on you too.
Is that right?
Yeah, Mark
Oh.
said yellow is Kathy's color, but so is blue. Looks good. The sets look professional. Okay. And he said your broadcasting is top quality. Thank you. Yeah, we will try our best as we can.
Okay, so 2 jokes.
Okay.
How about this? Yeah, the first one is this. We talk about Xi Jinping, right? Xi Jinping he keeps saying that he's maintaining a neutral position on the war.
All right.
So in Chinese we call it like 亲俄中立. It's called the full word is called a pro-Russia neutrality.
Okay.
In China, everyone
You get
understands.
it?
China has a pro-Russia neutrality. So Xi Jinping was reversing his car, driving backward, okay, 80 miles per hour on the highway.
Really?
Yeah, so the police stopped him. Police said, how could you do this? Xi Jinping said, no, I don't see that. I didn't drive backward. I see everybody else is driving 80 miles backward. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, so he's always say, I got reason. I'm right, no matter how ridiculous in other people's eyes. Anyway, so Russia was talking to the a Russia border guard was talking to a Polish border guard about what if we open our border?
Oh.
Yeah, the Polish
So
said.
yeah.
Well, the Polish said, what would you do if the border is opened? Russia guard said, I would climb a tree. If the border is open, I will climb the tree. So the Polish was confused. So why?
Yeah.
The Russia said, because I don't want to get killed in the stampede. Ha 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 ha.
Sorry, what's stampede?
Stampede is all the Russians want to run out of Russia, and they just
Just be
trample
over.
this poor border guard.
Oh,
so you know how
gosh.
to protect himself. So he want to climb on the tree. Anyway, that's a Soviet Union joke, not really Russia, but you got the idea. All right, thank you very much for tonight.
Yeah, it's great to have you all.
Yeah,
And
as
so
usual.
take care.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend.
Yeah, we'll be always here. We have to persistent for the sake of saving this great country.
All right.
Take care.
Take care.
Have a great weekend.
Good night.
See you next Monday.
Bye-bye.
Bye.